All right, here we on a Sunday morning in Las Vegas, just 8 o'clock. I'm Brian Feldman, and this is Outta Line. Here live same time every Sunday, Sports Radio 98.9 FM, 40 AM flagship of the Vegas Golden Knights. Live this morning, my office in Las Vegas. Normally, we do the show out of the Wisdom in Las Vegas, Spencer Studio, and we've been booted at sports. I'm frozen. All right. Well, Magnum's telling me I'm frozen. Mags, can you hear me though?
Yeah, but you keep freezing up, and I'm staring at a frozen screen, so I'm not sure what you got to do. But
the screen's frozen. I don't care as much. All right, we're good. We're good. As long as they can hear the show, that's the most important thing. Hopefully, we'll the video portion on point in a little bit. But normally we do the show out of the Wisdom today, and the reason we got out of the Fox Sports Red Corp studio is because of COVID protocol. It's been about going on 2 years now, and we're frozen up as well. I'm not getting it. So, Chris, go to commercial, please.
All right. I guess we're going to take a quick break here on Outta Line, Fox Sports Las Vegas. We'll be back in a minute or two, and hopefully we got you working here. So thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back in a minute here on Outta Line, Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Outta Line, Sunday mornings at 8.
With Javen White, his biggest issue, he's got the height. It's his bulk. He'll be a special team player if he works his ass off, and he's got a chance to be a defensive back.
My phone. Put me on my phone.
You really don't have a box to put him in, and that just expands.
I'll call him right now on my phone.
What's blazing to you?
Hey, can we have two people on the line at the same time on the phone, though?
Actually, their last pick of the draft, Meek Robinson. I think he's better than
okay, because we got to call Stormy, too. All right, call me back on my phone.
And former UNLV quarterback Caleb Herring on Fox Sports Radio Sunday mornings at 8. Kick off your Sunday mornings with Outta Line on Fox Sports Radio.
Bill Lambier, welcome to Outta Line.
Thanks a lot. I'm good to be on.
I was a young guy, but you stood up, you yelled at me, and you were spitting chicken wings all over my face and my shirt. Do you remember the incident at all?
No, if I don't, but it's a good growing experience for yourself.
It really was. Scared the living hell out of me.
Outta Line with Brian Feldman and former UNLV quarterback Caleb Herring on Fox Sports Radio Sunday mornings at 8. Outta Line is back.
Sunday morning, just after 8 o'clock. Former bad boy, longtime coach.
All right, you there?
The Las Vegas Aces.
All right, are we still on video or no?
How are you handling quarantine?
Yeah, it's like everybody else. You know, some days they're boring, and some days they're boring.
Are you watching the documentary?
No, I don't have any plans to either.
So the video's frozen still?
And I don't know what it is.
Well, right now, how's the video?
Outta Line with Brian Feldman and former UNLV quarterback Caleb Herring on Fox Sports Radio Sunday mornings with Outta Line on Fox Sports Radio.
Bill Lambier, welcome to Outta Line.
Thanks a lot. I'm good to be on.
I was a young guy, but you stood up, you yelled at me, and you were spitting chicken wings all over my face and my shirt. Do you remember the incident at all?
No, if I don't, but it's a good growing experience for yourself.
It really was. Scared the living hell out of me.
Outta Line with Brian Feldman and former UNLV quarterback Caleb Herring on Fox Sports Radio Sunday mornings at 8.
All right, here we go. On a Sunday morning in Las Vegas, we'll try to get this right now. I've got, I think we're doing it from the phone. This is what happens when the Wiz isn't available, and the reason he's not, he is in Pahrump in his bedroom trying to help us out. COVID positive as of yesterday, running a fever, not feeling well, but he's doing the best he can. But normally, that's why we're in studio with Spencer. We need him. And but Mags has got things taken care of back there. So also, as I just mentioned, producing the show, and he is COVID negative, but still social distancing back in the Fox Sports Residential Bay Corp studio, is Chris Magnum Chapman. Aside from producing a number of shows at Lotus Broadcasting, he's also the locker room reporter for the Vegas Golden Knights radio network. And this show is streaming on the Las Vegas Sports Network. And you can watch the show on Facebook Live and YouTube. The page is called Outta Line. That's Outtaline. Although I hear the video portion of the show is not on point. I can't see it. So, hey, I was born with a face for the radio, so it's probably better if you don't see me anyway. Listen, you can also follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at Outta Line, FoxLV. And since we are live, your calls are welcome. Give us a call. The Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio line is 702-876-1340.
Hi, this is Bubby, and it's time for What's on Tap.
Yeah, What's on Tap is brought to you by title sponsor Residential Bancorp. Whether purchasing a new home or refinancing the home you already own, Residential Bancorp is the company you can turn to for all your home financing needs. Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time, now offering $2,500 free to everyone and anyone who qualifies for a home purchase loan in the state of Nevada. Call 702-964-5720 for more information. On tap, the Vegas Golden Knights start their season this Tuesday night, and joining us is the brand new Rinkside reporter, joining us this year for the first time, joining us on the show for the first time, and that is Ashley Weiss. Looking really forward to having her on. She's been in St. Louis working for the Blues for the past 5 seasons, and now we're lucky enough to have her in Las Vegas. Talk to her in a minute. Also joining the show in a little while, Q Meyer, sports program director for Lotus Broadcasting, also hosts a great show on Raider Nation Radio, Unnecessary Roughness. We'll talk about that as well. And, yeah, Raiders playing, Aces bumped. Playoffs are up, man. Can you believe the Dodgers 106 games and almost had a chance to get eliminated in a one-game playoff to a team that's finished 16 games behind them. Pretty amazing. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And UNLV has the week off. Maybe they needed it, so they'll play next week 0-5. We'll talk to Q about that as well. And a big fight last night, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. If you didn't see it, we'll try to get that in towards the end of the show. But that is What's on Tap. Again, brought to you by title sponsor, Residential Bancorp, funding America one neighborhood at a time. And once again, now offering Nevada home buyers $2,500 towards closing costs for anyone and everyone who qualifies for a home purchase loan in the state of Nevada. Call 702-964-5720 for more details. And before we jump into this, Chris, I'm sure hopefully you got Ashley on the phone, but want to ask you how you're doing. You're safe, you're healthy, right?
Yeah. Everything here on my end is good. But just gearing up for the season to start. Preseason game last night. It's funny. I don't take a lot of stock in preseason, but I think it's I don't want to say concerning, but I do think that there could be cause for a little concern with the fact that the Golden Knights have not played very well in either of their last 2 preseason games. These are both supposed to be dress rehearsals.
Well, you're jumping the gun. Let's get the nightcap in 1 second, because we want to bring Ashley in to join the two of us on the show. And Spencer, I know he can't come on the radio, but man, surprised me last night. He's sick, vaccinated not that long ago, and poor Spencer, he's been one of the guys keeping as safe as anybody I know. Social distancing, always has the mask on, and I really feel bad for him. Spence, I appreciate you joining the show, and definitely get better quickly because I need you, man. Anyways, go ahead and hit nightcap.
Hockey players, as you know, are warriors. They don't give up. They come to play every game.
It's time for Nightcap, a cupful of the Vegas Golden Knights. From highlights to interviews to special events, the puck starts here.
Everything last night and yesterday.
Kick off your Sunday mornings with Outta Line on Fox Sports Radio.
Bill Lambier, welcome to Outta Line.
Thanks a lot, man. Good to be on.
I was a young guy, but you stood up, you yelled at me, and you were spitting chicken wings all over my face and my shirt. Do you remember the incident at all?
No, if I don't, but it's a good growing experience for yourself.
It really was. Scared the living hell out of me.
Outta Line with Brian Feldman and former UNLV quarterback Caleb Herring on Fox Sports Radio Sunday mornings at 8. Kick off your Sunday mornings with Outta Line on Fox Sports Radio.
One of my most memorable moments at UNLV, winning that cannon there and celebrating that way. And I remember it so vivid. I said, good try. And I went, now where's my cannon? Me and Marcus Sullivan beelined it for the cannon. That was how we started the celebration.
Were you happy enough to give Bobby Hauck a hug and a kiss after the game? All right, listen.
Why? Why?
Why? Because the show is called Outta Line.
Outta Line with Brian Feldman and former UNLV quarterback Caleb Herring on Fox Sports Radio Sunday mornings at 8.
All right, Brian, go.
All right, we're back. We are having all kinds of technical difficulties on this Sunday morning. Hopefully the Raiders won't have those same difficulties this afternoon to the Knights on Tuesday night. Chris just alluded to the preseason where they didn't look great. Chris, you don't have Ashley on the phone?
No, we're having some more technical difficulties.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, real quickly, while Chris works on getting Ashley on the phone, we'll talk a little bit about this. And, of course, he's having some issues in the studio, and I apologize. And, of course, we are looking to get Ashley Weiss, who is the brand new ringside reporter. She's featured prominently on all the regular televised AT&T Sportsnet game broadcasts. AT&T Sportsnet behind-the-scenes show, Vegas with the Vegas Golden Knights. It's called Nightlife, another show, which is the Vegas Golden Knights produced digital content and team charitable appearances and events throughout the Las Vegas Valleys, which she'll be doing here. And again, Ashley has been working with the St. Louis Blues for the past couple of seasons. And I'm going to get this. I'm getting a bad echo here as well. She also traveled with the team in the bubble in 2020, handled the Stanley Cup playoffs last year, got to see the Blues win their first ever Stanley Cup, which is extremely cool. And, of course, David Perron, a cast-off of the Vegas Golden Knights. I can't say really a cast-off. It made sense for him to go to the Blues. He got to play in back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, losing the first one with the Knights, and then won the Blues' first ever Stanley Cup with them, which was pretty cool. But as Chris alluded to a minute ago, the Golden Knights finished 3-4 in the preseason. The last couple of games didn't look good, looked lethargic, at times looked like they were skating in wet cement. 4-0 shutout yesterday at the hands of the San Jose Sharks. That has to be a little tiny bit concerning coming into the regular season. I know preseason doesn't mean a thing as far as the games counting go, but you don't want to end the preseason that way and kind of on a note where you guys are kind of searching to see where you're at. They are getting a break in the sense playing at home against the expansion Seattle Kraken, but hey, look at the way the Vegas Golden Knights came out of the gate 4 years ago. So who knows what's going to happen. Chris, I don't know if Ashley's on the line yet. Can join us and talk about this a little bit, but it is concerning that they went 3-4 in the preseason, especially the way they played in the last two games.
Yeah, Brian, I'm here.
Oh my God, there she is. Ashley, welcome aboard.
Yeah, I had a little technical issue there for a second. I apologize.
No, that is not you. We are it's the Fox Sports Residential Bancorp studio. I think that it hasn't gotten its vaccine yet. So we might have a problem over there.
That's all right. We got to get it one. But no, I totally understand the concern whenever you look at, 3-4, but there's a lot more that you want to get out of preseason than wins and losses. A lot of it is just getting up to game speed and feeling comfortable. For example, Robin Lehner may not have been happy to let 4 goals in yesterday, but Pete DeBoer continually talked about how great he's looked in practice. And really, it's just about being comfortable. Lehner even said after yesterday's game, I didn't want to let 4 goals in, obviously, but I also came up with some big saves. So those are the kind of things that the players are looking for. The preseason also gave the coaching staff really good looks at some of the younger players, not just, getting in games here and there, but really seeing how they react in different situations. Peyton Krebs played 6 out of the 7 preseason games, and you saw him play all up and down the lineup. So now the coaching staff knows where he can go in any situation. Hayden Korzak got a chance to play with Alec Martinez yesterday. Pierre Delibertori played with Alex Pietrangelo the night before that. So you have some young defensemen understanding what it's like to play with some of the best defensemen in the world. So really all the coaching staff really looks for in the preseason is seeing what those young guys can do, seeing who comes up if there's a problem, who makes the opening night roster if there's an injury, things of that nature. So certainly you don't want to finish 3-4, but I really don't expect much carryover from that standpoint.
We are talking with Ashley Weiss. She's a brand new Vegas Golden Knights rinkside reporter. You're going to see her all year this year. Looking forward to having her. Ashley, before we get started, how cool was it for you to come to Las Vegas? Obviously a hockey fan, working with the Blues. You, like everyone else around the country, saw what happened here, which was nothing short of miraculous with the Vegas Golden Knights and what they did as a true expansion team. It's been amazing for all of us here in Las Vegas. The decision to come to Vegas from the Blues.
You know, I had a really great opportunity here. I was doing some great stuff with the Blues, but this gave me an opportunity to be incorporated on the TV broadcast as well, which was not part of my role with the Blues. And who wouldn't want to come be part of this organization? Just like you were saying, it's had the attention of everyone around the National Hockey League every year for the first 4 years of its existence, with good reason. From the top down, it's just a winning mentality. It's a mentality of doing whatever you need to do to be successful, which is extremely appealing. And of course, it's Vegas. It's an incredible city. I don't know why anyone wouldn't want to be here. I especially don't know why any sports fan wouldn't want to be here when you see the growth of professional sports here, even just since the Golden Knights came around. Now you have the Raiders. Now, will there be a Major League Baseball team? Who knows? But there's so much to love about it. I will say, even just the preseason games, every time I get back from the plane and I'm driving back and I'm looking at the Las Vegas Strip, I'm just in awe.
Yeah, you know, actually, it's really cool. I transplanted here from Detroit in 2004, and I say in Travel Magazine about 20 years ago, they listed Las Vegas as the number 2 vacation destination in the world based on a survey of 10,000 people that filled out a survey of the 10 places they wanted to visit before they left this planet. Vegas turned out to be number 2 internationally, which is pretty crazy. So I always feel like I'm living on vacation, right? It's the number 2 vacation destination in the world. But you got to see the rise of the St. Louis Blues, something for a long time they have been waiting for in St. Louis, and they finally get a Stanley Cup champion a couple of years ago. You saw that. You were a part of it. It was cool for us Vegas Golden Knights fans because we saw David Perron, who we absolutely loved here, go to St. Louis and get a ring the year after the Vegas Golden Knights lost to the Capitals. What was that like in St. Louis, them winning their first Stanley Cup?
You know, it was nothing short of incredible. It's kind of hard to describe because not only did they win the Stanley Cup that year, but they were last place in the league on January 1st, almost halfway through the season. So even to have just made the playoffs was a huge accomplishment. And then they go on to win the cup. The whole thing was kind of a blur. It was just about a 5.5 month period of, is this really happening? And I will say it's interesting. I think Vegas fans probably have an idea of what that feeling is like whenever your team is about to do it, just from what the VGK did their very first year of existence, making it to the cup final. But I will say I've only experienced it once, but there's just a feeling when it's going to happen. There's a way that the team seems to come together and bond. I think so much of it is about the team's relationship off the ice. I am a firm believer that the team does not get far if they don't have the right chemistry. If they don't want to play for each other every single night. So I also think that there's usually like a turning point in a season, right? There's always that one point where you're like, okay, this is where everything changed. This is whenever we realized that there was really going to be a chance for this to happen. So, and you mentioned David Perron. Incredible to see a guy like that succeed. I'm not saying that Vegas fans want to hear this since he's not in Las Vegas anymore, but he's someone that seems to just get better with age, which is crazy. Every year he seems to be doing something more. But I will say his play reminds me a lot of Jonathan Marchessault. The two of them remind me a lot of each other. Their passion for the game, their compete level. They don't want to lose to anyone. So I do believe that Vegas still has in Jonathan Marchessault what they had in David Perron as well.
Yeah, Ashley.
Both guys are physical, not huge in stature, but very physical players and don't shy away from the physical contact, and both can put the puck in the net. We've seen that with David Perron. And I mean, you talk about a guy, chip on his shoulder, he comes here as a cast-off, then 1 year later he's somewhere else, and he carried that to St. Louis. And you're right, his play seems to continue to elevate every season as he gets into his 30s, which is pretty crazy. with the Vegas Golden Knights now, here, as you mentioned, we did get the feeling of that. I saw what you're talking about in Detroit when the Red Wings went through a huge drought, and then in the 90s finally broke through after all these years in the playoffs and finally win a Stanley Cup. They've won a few since then. It was incredible. And for Vegas, the way they got the feeling is, hell, they had the Lord Stanley's Cup here for a long time where everyone got to view it, see it. They had it at one of the local establishments by T-Mobile Arena. It was really cool, and a lot of people got that feeling. But in the same respect, the disappointment starts to come. Like last year, I think everyone felt the Golden Knights would at least make it to the finals again. Playing a Montreal team that obviously won a lot less games. They were on a mission, and it's something that people I don't think have forgotten here. There are people that say the Vegas Golden Knights, without Marc-Andre Fleury, without Ryan Reeves, are not the same team that they have been. And some people expect a decline. And again, that preseason, like you said, you got to kind of throw that out the window. It's a little concerning, but when the talk is this team might see a little decline, and that's the preseason you have, that is a concern.
No, I get that for sure. It totally makes sense. But something to keep in mind is just because it's different than what you've seen with Ryan Reeves, with Marc-Andre Fleury, doesn't mean that it's bad. I think people, especially with the love that this team or this city has for this team, which is incredible, you fall in love with the players. And those two guys played a massive role on the team. There's no doubt. But now you have a different kind of forward depth that you haven't had before. You have roles that Nolan Patrick and Evgeny Dodonov can play that you haven't had before. You have guys like Peyton Krebs, who might be one of the next superstars for this team. And then you have Robin Lehner, who's probably going to get more games in, and he's going to be able to get more settled in. And that is not a slap on Marc-Andre Fleury at all, or to downplay the impact that he had on this team. But Lehner gets a real shot this time, and it's incredible what can happen to a goaltender whenever he understands that he has the support of everyone behind him. So totally makes sense, but also something to remember, because there were new faces, you had to get some chemistry going. So that's kind of what preseason's for. Better to get that out, better to start to build that chemistry now than to be worried about building it when the season starts. Another thing in preseason, because you had the young guys getting the different looks, getting the looks that they wouldn't normally have. Like you have the young guys on the top pair. Keegan Colasar, phenomenal camp, but last night he starts on the top line, which probably isn't going to happen opening night. That also makes it to where the results aren't completely telling in the preseason of what's going to happen in the regular season. You saw a lot of guys who would normally be on the power play throughout the season not playing on the power play. You saw people who would normally not play on the power play up there. Same with the penalty kill. So those are the kind of reasons that the preseason shouldn't have you too concerned.
No, I agree with that. I think all of us just believe that what's going to make a difference is the star players stepping up at the biggest moments. And one of the people I spoke a lot about, love Mark Stone. I've said he is one of the greatest players in the league that is not mentioned as one of the greatest players in the league. And then he lays an egg last year in the postseason. That can't happen again. I know nobody feels worse about that than Mark Stone, but that can't happen again. And we're going to talk about Robin Lehner real quickly before we go in a second. I just want to ask you something I've said to a lot of people about the Marc-Andre Fleury departure. I didn't love the way that the Vegas Golden Knights went about it. However, I'm one of the very few people in Las Vegas that said it was a great move for Marc-Andre Fleury and for the city of Las Vegas. And most people argue with me intensely about it. The reason I'm saying that, Ashley, is after the gaffe Marc-Andre Fleury had in the semifinals last year, it was a big conversation. Is he losing it? And then, of course, it was something that shaked his confidence, and we saw that the rest of the way. Robin Lehner played well, but Marc-Andre Fleury never recovered, even though they're not in the semifinals without him. He played so well and, of course, won the Vezina Trophy. But I said by him departing, once he was let go to Chicago, everyone was complaining like, oh, my God, how could the Knights do it? And all of a sudden, the conversation about the gaffe and his legacy went away. And I said that is the best thing for him. Plus, Mark will go to Chicago. He'll have a chip on his shoulder again and maybe get one more great season out of his career. At his age, you can't continue to see an upside decline. There's only one Tom Brady, although Marc-Andre Fleury might argue with that. But I'm saying it's a good thing for that reason. His legacy may have been slightly tarnished. Had he stayed in Las Vegas and not played well this year, they would have not forgotten that gaffe. I think now the the gap is forgotten, and everyone's, singing Marc-Andre Fleury's praises again, which I think is a good thing.
I understand what you mean. It's funny because what I have to compare this to from firsthand experience is Pat Maroon in St. Louis. He went to St. Louis and he signed a 1-year deal. He was a hometown kid. He had a major goal in the second round, Game 7, double overtime. He was the hometown hero whenever the Blues won the Stanley Cup. And then he signed with Tampa Bay the following year. Now, given he's gone on to win 2 more cups with Tampa back-to-back since then. But I remember thinking, I'm glad he's moving on because he can go out as the hometown hero. And that's the only way people in St. Louis are ever going to remember him. So I totally understand what you were saying. I also, changes of scenery can be good for people. I also think it's important to note, though, that the organization and the fans will always have so much respect for Marc-Andre Fleury. It has nothing to do with that. And also, it was a cap decision more than anything, which is something that people have to keep in mind. Without that move, is Evgeny Dodonov here? Is Nolan Patrick here? Probably not. And you talked about the importance of guys like Mark Stone performing. Yes, you do need your top players to be your top players, but with a true bottom 6, like it looks like the VGK are going to have this season, that does take some pressure off those guys, which probably also leads to them performing a little bit better because maybe they're not gripping their sticks so tight. You also have more guys who can play TK. So maybe you're not having Mark Stone out every single instance of the ice and being so worn down. So yes, I completely understand the disappointment whenever a fan favorite leaves 100%, but there could be plenty of silver linings that come out of it. It's too early to tell, but that's certainly the game plan for the VGK.
Talking with Ashley Weiss, the brand new VGK ringside reporter, and I think that was very well said, and I agree with Mark Stone again. Yeah, he was worn down, but it still sticks in the craw of most Vegas Golden Knights fans. I think we'll see a different Mark Stone this year because, again, nobody was more disappointed in him. Really quick before I let you go, Robin Lehner last Saturday made some news, as we all know, and he was talking about the NHL teams that he's played for, some of them, I should say, handing out painkillers to players without prescriptions. He did say the Knights were not one of those teams, but he made the allegations on Twitter a week ago Saturday in an effort, he told ESPN, to call attention to the surgery stalemate between his former teammate, Jack Eichel, and the Buffalo Sabres. Spencer, if you can't play the segment on Robin Lehner, this was the press conference last Tuesday and what he had to say about that.
It's not easy to do this, but I had a great talk with the NHL and the NHLPA over the last day. I'm excited for the potential change that can be made to protect the younger generation. This is something I've been advocating for years, and I'm encouraged about the approach they want to take. To build on that, I've tried in many avenues to bring some change of things that I've gone through in my career, and I don't want to see with anyone else because I know how close it's been for me, my family, my kids, personal friends, teammates. I'm always going to advocate for mental health and advocate for this league, but moving forward, I'm looking to help in more private matter. This weekend was a cry for help from this league, the league I love. That's given me so much, but I'm just looking to protect the younger players. And the only way to affect change in my mind is to do it in a non-public fashion. I feel like I'm very encouraged about the talks that I've had and that we're gonna have moving forward.
Thought that might have been a little better way to handle it, considering the season's getting ready to start, and that can potentially be a distraction. Ashley, before I let you go, comment on that. Can that be a distraction? Is it something that's being talked about in the Vegas Golden Knights locker room, or is it something that's now a non-issue? It's a week old, and they're moving on and getting ready for the season.
I don't think it's a distraction, and the reason I say that is because I think that everyone in that locker room, or I know that everyone in that locker room already knows the passion that Robin Lehner has for those issues, the passion he has when it comes to supporting those with addiction, preventing people to be in positions to develop addictions, his passion about mental health. So I can see where on the outside where people would be like, wow, right before the season starts maybe, but this isn't a surprise. These aren't conversations that he also isn't willing to have in the locker room with his teammates. So if that makes sense, I think that from the outside, maybe it seems that way a little bit more, but from the top down, people in the organization, his teammates, they understand his passion for the issues and they support his passion for the issues. And, he's told me directly, it's not something he doesn't enjoy having to talk about it, but he feels a weight to talk about it. He feels the times like it's his responsibility to bring attention to things so that, people don't go down a path that he has gone down in the past. He wants to make a difference. So totally understand. I don't expect that to make a difference. I don't expect that to impact his performance because, stuff may have been public, but again, those aren't conversations that he's not already having with people that he's close with anyways, which are his teammates.
Yeah, I agree. And the bottom line is typically the needle doesn't get moved unless the squeaky wheel squeaks loudly. And maybe that's the way Robin Lehner felt he had to do. And again, he was standing up for a good friend. She, again, is Ashley Vice, and you will hear and see her all year as she is the brand new ringside reporter for the Vegas Golden Knights. Again, she will be on the AT&T Sportsnet game broadcast, AT&T Sportsnet behind the scenes show for the Vegas Golden Knights, Nightlife, and the Vegas Golden Knights. She'll produce the digital video content. We appreciate you being here, Ashley, and look forward to seeing you all season.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, our technical difficulties are getting better. Chris, are you able to get Q on the line?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get him up right now.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll come back. We'll try to do a few other things. We are running a little bit behind because of the issues we've had. But the Las Vegas Aces, I don't think we're going to try the sound, Spence, because it wasn't coming up before. So I don't know what the issue is with the StreamYard today. We'll figure that out. But we're going to talk with Q about the the Aces and also the Las Vegas Raiders, maybe a little bit of NFL, some UNLV football right here as soon as Chris gets him on the phone. The Aces, real tough season. This was a season that I think they really were in line and in shape to win the WNBA title and bring the first professional championship to Las Vegas. It didn't happen. They fell in 5 games to the Mercury Sun, losing the last one this past Friday night. Tough game to lose. You could see it in the places. It was almost heart-wrenching watching the post-game press conference, seeing Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray up there just in anguish. It was terrible. And but then again, it was an exciting as hell series, great game down the stretch. And to see the GOAT in women's basketball, Diana Taurasi, play the way she did, was quiet in the first half, only 6 points, picked up 18 in the second half, including huge three-pointers down the stretch. That's what she does. And Brittany Griner may be the GOAT as far as her position goes in women's basketball. She is just an unstoppable force in the low post, and she is developing this little skyhook a la Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that is going to be completely undefensible once she gets it down and starts hitting it on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
we have Q on the phone yet?
No. But, the thing is, I just got to say, the officiating down the stretch of that game was horrible. I have a real issue with them calling the foul with I can't remember who it was for the Mercury who shot the 3. First of all, the Aces played great defense for the entire shot clock. By bad luck, it ends up in someone's hands who just throws up a prayer and leans into the contact. They blow the whistle to give the Mercury 3 free throws, 2 of which were made. Vegas calls a timeout. Brittany Griner has her arm wrapped around Asia Wilson on the inbounds play. Wilson does get the ball, and she's fouled by 2 players on the Mercury driving to the basket. They don't call anything. They swallow the whistle. Diana Taurasi got away with a foul on Liz Cambage late in the game where they were praising it as a great block. She clearly fouled Cambage, but because she's 8 inches shorter, they're not going to call it. Absolutely horrific officiating down the stretch. I talked with someone closer to the team about it, and they said it's been that way the entire season. The Aces were not getting the calls, and Mercury the other night got the calls. The Aces didn't. The end of the day, you can't blow a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter. The Aces should have been better. Look, they were 21 of 21 from the free throw line, so you can't complain about that. They played a good game. Problem was they just didn't finish a lot of the little things that needed to be finished.
Yeah, and I wonder why, you heard Bill Laimbeer complaining about the officiating. I'm sure he's going to, if he hasn't been contacted by the league, I'm sure he's going to get fined. What I don't understand, though, Chris, is why. He kept saying they're getting championship calls and they're not a championship team. See, I look at it the opposite. When you're a team that wins a championship, great players don't get the calls against them. That's always been the big, what people talk about is with great players like LeBron James, they don't call fouls against him. So I don't know what Laimbeer was saying. You get fouls called against you when you're not the champion.
Well, what his comments reminded me of, and you'll remember this because you were a Pistons fan growing up, that Michael Jordan had to go through the Pistons to win an NBA title. But if you remember those series where Jordan lost, Michael Jordan never got the calls in those games. It wasn't until he overcame the mountain where he got to the top where he started to get those calls. Well,
that's what I'm saying, though, Chris.
So that's the thing. Like, I think they're not a championship team. They shouldn't. I don't understand the comment about like, if you're a champion, you're going to get the calls. They were getting all the calls going against them. Anytime it was contact when Phoenix had the ball, they were blowing the whistle and calling a foul. Yeah. But Phoenix has been through the grind, right? Taurasi, as you mentioned, she's a great player. Brittany Griner, one of the all-time greats in the history of the WNBA. They're going to get the calls. The Aces haven't earned that, which to me is garbage. I hate that, well, the champions get all the calls. To me, if it's a foul, it's a foul regardless of how many rings you wear when you're walking down, the red carpet at the WNBA All-Star game. I don't care about that. If it's a foul, it's a foul. But the comment was kind of odd. They're getting championship calls because generally the champion, if you remember, listen, I'm a New England Patriot hater. For 2 decades, Tom Brady and Bill Belichick got all the calls. It's just the way it was. Every single 50-50 call went their way. That's because they were champions.
But that's my exact point. Champions don't get the bad calls against them. Laimbeer was saying they're getting calls against them like a champion would. And my point was that didn't make sense to me because it's usually the other way around when you see the calls going against the team that's playing against the champions. And when you look at the Phoenix Suns, here's the deal with them. They have the GOAT. And Diana Taurasi is somebody, almost intimidating to the officials. You can see when she talks to the officials, they're more effective than when Laimbeer's talking to them. And that is because of her reputation in the WNBA. So I'm not sure if I want to blame the officials for everything. I agree with you. There were some bad calls. But I actually thought in a couple of the games they did a pretty decent job. And I just thought the Aces didn't play great down the stretch. And that was really where the difference was. Asia Wilson in a couple games completely disappeared. She played great in game 4, double-double, and they won.
Yeah, well, she played good in game 5. I think she
played good in the second half of game 5.
Yeah. Well, yeah, her and Cam Page had a good second half. First half, the team was carried by Chelsea Gray and Kelsey Plum. Chelsea Gray is man. I didn't know a lot about her until she became a member of the Aces. Dude, she is good. She's a baller.
Chris, let me ask you something. You're saying that then. Why, with 4.8 seconds to go in the game, down 2 points, why did Chelsea Gray inbound the pass? Inbound the ball.
Well,
why would you have her inbounding when she was as hot as anybody?
Well, I
was amazed at that.
I think they had a play drawn up for Asia, and it just didn't pan out. Look, I'm one of the people who believes that in the final seconds of a game, you want the ball in the hands of your best player. Asia Wilson is their best player. Look, she won the league MVP last year. You put the ball in her hands because if you don't put it in her hands, then people are going to question, well, why didn't you give the ball? Look, you watch the Lakers. Who has the ball in the last possession? LeBron James. You watched anybody. Kobe Bryant. He has the ball in his hands, last possession. You want the ball in the hands of your best player. I thought the play was good. If she gets through those two Mercury players, she's going to score. She's laying it in. Like I said, I think she was fouled going to the basket. It's a shame that they didn't blow the whistle, but you gotta put the ball in her hands at the end of the game.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I think you have to have a second and third option. You always have extra options in case your first option isn't available. To me, as hot as she played in that game, Chelsea Gray should have been the second option at least. You can't be the second option when you're inbounding the ball. It's going to be very difficult because there's only 4.8 seconds to go, not 10, and that's what worried me. That's what worried me the most. All right, I guess Q Meyer's on the phone. Q, what's going on?
Hey, man, chilling. How you guys doing?
Oh, man, we've had technical difficulties all morning. It's been a challenging Sunday at the least. But, hey, we're up, we're rocking and rolling, and we just got done talking about the Aces. I'll make this brief because we're a little bit short on time. You were there at the press conference. You were there for all the Aces playoff games. Man, was that heart-wrenching or what, seeing those four ladies on the stage at the end of the game to see how much they care? It's refreshing to see professional athletes with their heart on the line like that, but at the same time, it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, no, it really is. It's disappointing as well. I mean, they had multiple opportunities in that game 5 to kind of close the door and close the Mercury out, and unfortunately, they weren't able to do it. I thought Liz Cambage missed a couple bunnies at the end that really could have helped seal the deal, but I mean, that's how basketball go, right? That's how sports go. It's just unfortunate. The ball bounces a certain way, and Brittany Griner is a Hall of Famer, and of course you got Taurasi, who's a Hall of Famer, and it's incredible, man. It was an incredible run. Unfortunately, it came up a little short for the Aces, but it was a lot of fun watching them get where they got.
I love the quality of basketball we saw out there. I love seeing Mandalay Bay packed like that for a WNBA game. And I was saying during the game, I said Coach Kruger of UNLV should have brought the running Rebels out there and said, this is what a stadium looks like when you win. Let's find a way to win and pack the MAC like this. That's a story for another time, though. Q, since we don't have a lot of time and you are the Raiders guy, I want to get you on here talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. Last week, tough game in LA against the Chargers. We knew it was going to be a tough game. What do you think the Raiders learned from their first loss? Because I still think this is a much different and better Raiders team than we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I was saying that during training camp that I thought this was a different team. It just felt different. It just felt like they were going to be a better team. They were going to win a lot of games and win for each other. They like each other. They're really tight with each other. But I think this game today will tell a lot about the makeup of this team and where they're at, where their mentality is at. How do you bounce back from a tough loss that they suffered on Monday night? I think that's really the storyline of this whole game is, so I think we'll learn a lot about this team today. They're young, they really are, and it's a short week, and it's gonna take, I think, some of these veterans that are there, like the Ngakwe's and the Casey Haywards and guys like that, KJ Wright. It's gonna take a lot of those guys, just kind of knowledge and want to go ahead and help this team today because they're playing a tough Bears team. But I do think that they bounce back. I just think that they got to start fast. I think the key to this game today will be starting fast, which is something they haven't done the whole season long.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm talking to Q Meyer, he's Lotus Broadcasting Sports Program Director and the host of Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio every day from 2 to 4, Monday through Friday. Definitely check it out. Q's great with the show. And I do agree with you. I think that this team going forward has to continue to play well defensively. And I think today, Q, the key to me is running the football. The Bears give up an average of 110, 111 yards a game on the ground. And it seems like Josh Jacobs is healthy again. I didn't even see him listed on the injury report, although we know he has been. I know that Barber's hurt, and Kenyon Drake didn't get a lot of snaps last week, but I think it is going to be a combo package in the running game that needs success for them to beat this Bears team.
I agree 100%, and it's something I've been calling for a couple of weeks now is for this Raider team to get going, on the ground. And last week, they went up against the Chargers team who gave up 170 yards a game on the ground, and they weren't able to get anything going. They got like 50 yards, and Josh Jacobs returned from injury. He didn't look like he had that burst. Didn't look like he was that guy that, he looked like he was a guy who missed a couple of weeks. He just didn't have his legs underneath him. So I'm hoping that after a week of practice, you'll see a better Josh Jacobs. That's what I believe that the goal is to get that run game going. Peyton Barber, I do believe, won't play just because of the toe injury. And Kenyon Drake's been disappointing. That's the other thing. He's been disappointing so far when you run the ball between the tackles. You know, he just hasn't hit the holes right. He hasn't been blocking right. He just hasn't done the job that I think that the Raiders signed him up when they gave him that contract and said he was going to be a 1-2 punch with Josh Jacobs. So I think a big key today is going to be getting the run game going. I mean, Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack, they're going to come downhill. They're going to come and try to attack Derek Carr and attack that offensive line that's been struggling so far for the Raiders. And they're going to try to get after the quarterback. So to kind of slow down that pressure, you got to have a good run game, you know, kind of make those guys hesitate a couple seconds. So Josh Jacobs, I think it's a lot on 28 today. He's going to have to come up and make some big plays.
I agree with you 100%. Justin Fields announced earlier this week the permanent starter of the Chicago Bears. I don't think anyone was surprised about that. I was saying if they don't announce him as the permanent starter, they're going to find a way to keep Andy Dalton on the shelf and say the injury is worse than we think to make everything look better. But what kind of difficulties does Justin Fields propose for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Well, you know, it's just, I mean, the athleticism. You know, he's a runner. That's a guy, he can make plays happen if he has to. Now, of course, he's going to want to stand in the pocket and throw the ball around the yard. But, I mean, he could break it down. He could break it down, and he can get mobile, and he could do some things with his legs. And you saw a couple of weeks ago against Miami, Jacoby Brissett, who's not as mobile as Justin Fields, he did really well. You know, he picked up some big third and long plays by his legs. He kept a play alive when he stepped up in the pocket and converted on 4th and 20 with his legs. So, I mean, those kind of guys, those mobile guys, man, they're going to give the Raiders and every other team in the league fits just because what they could do is they could do, you know, multiple things with their legs. But I'll say this. I think that the Bears' offensive line is pretty suspect. I think Unique Ngakoue, I think Max Crosby, Darius Philon, Jonathan Hankins. I mean, all those guys on the Raiders' defensive line, Solomon Thomas, I think they could all eat today. I really do. I think they're going to have an opportunity to get after Fields. Myles Garrett a couple weeks ago sacked Justin Fields 4.5 times, and the Browns, as a team, had him down 9 times. So, you know, I think that there's opportunities to get sacks, but you got to go and make it happen. You know, the good thing is Max Crosby's been really leading the league in pressures. So today, I think one of the biggest keys is, you know, getting the pressures on the quarterback, but also getting the quarterback to the ground.
Absolutely. It's Q Myers, sports program director for Lotus Broadcasting. 5.5 points favored, Q. Who do you like?
I'm going with the Raiders. I'm going with the home team today. I do think they can win this game. I think that 5.5 points is a little generous. You know, I think that it's going to be a little closer than that. And as we all seen so far through 4 weeks, well, at least through 3 weeks when they were 3-0. I mean, all those games are close. You know, I mean, they come down to the wire. That's just kind of traditional Raider style. You know, it's a field goal here, a field goal there is going to win this game. I don't know if it's going to be a 5.5 point victory. I'm sure Raider fans will be excited if it is because they feel like they don't have to panic towards the end. But I think it's going to be really close. But I do think at the end of the day, the Raiders have enough to win the game. The key, honestly, like the biggest thing in this game is getting a victory because they're coming off that loss on Monday night, and you don't want to go on a losing streak. You know what I mean? Okay, you lose the game, fine, but get back in that win column. That's one of the most important things is not going on losing streaks. You want to be a good team. You go, you lose the game, you pick it right back up, and you make it happen. So that's going to be on the Raiders today to go ahead and make that happen.
Yep, got to have a short memory and get back on track today. I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think the Raiders eke this one out. And 4-1, I definitely didn't predict that at the beginning of the season. Real quick, Q, 60 seconds. You're new to Vegas, getting acclimated with UNLV sports. I'm not going to be a naysayer, so I'm going to just shut up. They're 0-5. I think the bye week really helped them out. Next week, Utah State comes in here next Saturday. Can UNLV get over the hump, finally get a win against Utah State? As a matter of fact, I'm getting a ton of text messages right now. Can UNLV win a game this season?
Yeah, I think they can. I like the fact that they've been playing all these teams. Tough schedule. I think they've been playing these teams pretty tough. I thought they should have got that victory against Fresno State. They didn't. We all know how that goes. But, yeah, man, they're – I feel like they're getting better. They just haven't got there. And, of course, like, you know, Coach Arroyo says all the time, there's no moral victories. But I think that they're going to get one. I don't know if it's going to come this week. You know what I mean? It's just so hard to call it. But, man, it feels like the team is getting better. And I love the Chuck Wagon. I love what he does on the ground. And hopefully for UNLV's sake, man, I want to see him get a couple dubs. I'd love to see him get one this upcoming week against Utah State.
Yeah, it would be nice, and we've been waiting for a long time. I can't imagine 2 seasons without a victory. I think they're going to get at least one this season. I don't know about Utah State, but I think that's
Right.
as good of an opportunity to win as any. And finally, key matchups today. It doesn't surprise us based on last season that the Browns and the Chargers are a heck of a matchup. Both teams 3-1. But the surprising, who would have thought that the Packers at the Bengals would be a marquee matchup in Week 5? But it is.
It really is. I'm excited about this game. I do think the Packers win the game, but man, haven't the Bengals been a nice surprise? I mean, 3-1. I thought that they were silly when they went and drafted Jamar Chase instead of a big-time offensive lineman to protect Joe Burrow. But man, they showed that Burrow to Chase connection is real, and that they have something special there. And so I kind of like from a distance what they're doing there in Cincinnati. So that game will be a fun game. I do think the Packers ultimately win, but man, who thought Cincinnati would be 3-1 at this point? So good for the Bengals. Keep doing what they do.
I'll tell you what, the skill positions of the Bengals, Q, are as good as anybody in the league. With Burrows, and you got Joe Mixon as a running back and a three-headed monster wide receiver. Any one of those guys can burn you. And I do love Jamar Chase. I think this guy is going to be a superstar in the National Football League. Once again, he is Q Meyer. He is the Lotus Program sports director, and also definitely check him out too at 4 p.m. on Raiders Nation Radio, Unnecessary Roughness. Q, appreciate you joining the show.
Absolutely, my man. Thank you so much, man. Keep doing what you guys do.
Absolutely. And real quick, we are almost out of time. If we can hit fact this real quick, this is a good one.
Fact this. If you don't like the facts, take your ass back to bed. Fact this.
Well, I have two fact thises, and they're both going to make sense. Fact: the longest active win streak over unranked opponents in college football history, and the longest current active win streak in the FBS have come to an end. Yes, for those of you that missed it, this means that Alabama lost yesterday to the unranked Texas A&M Aggies. Are we shocked? Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about in that game. Jimbo Fisher, former assistant of Nick Saban at LSU, the first assistant coach for Nick Saban ever to beat him. He was 24-0 against assistants going into yesterday. The last time Alabama lost to an unranked opponent, 2007, when Louisiana Monroe beat them. This is a shocker. Will Alabama still play in the playoffs if they run the table, win the SEC? Yep, they'll still be there.
Hey, Brian,
but this was a shocking loss.
Here's a fact that you may not know. Alabama last lost on November 30th of 2019 to Auburn. UNLV last won a football game on November 30th, 2019, beating the school up north.
Wow.
679 days.
That is incredible. On both ends, Chris. It's pretty amazing. I mean, when you think how long it's been since an unranked opponent has been beaten by Alabama, or Alabama has beaten Alabama, and then UNLV, that is amazing how long since they've won a football game. And I hope they win one this sake for this community's sake. But Alabama, I think, is going to be fine. I just think college football, the strength at the top is not what it used to be. Georgia, Alabama, to me, is still a very, very intriguing matchup. And I think we still may see that for the national title game. One more fact it's a fact. The Los Angeles Dodgers won 106 games and were the second best team in Major League Baseball in 2021, and yet found themselves in a one-game playoff with the St. Louis Cardinals, who won 16 games less than the Dodgers, although they were the hottest team in September. Pretty amazing. This, to me, screams that the wild card round should be a 3-game playoff. Chris, what do you think?
No, I think I'm fine with what it is. Look, the reality is this is not something that happens all the time. Major League Baseball doesn't need to jump to change the system because one year the second. Look, it happens in other sports. It's not like there's not seasons where the second best team in the league is in the same division as the first best. I mean, we look at hockey this year. A lot of people are really flying high about the Florida Panthers. Guess who's in their division? The two-time defending Stanley Cup champion. It's not out of the realm of possibility that those are two of the three best teams record-wise or points-wise in the NHL this season, and they may play each other in the first or second round of the playoffs. It's just the way it is. Look,
but
the reality,
it's a round of the playoffs.
Well, here's the reality. Look, the Dodgers don't want to be in that game. Win more games than the Giants. Problem solved.
Well, when you win 106 games,
No, it's simple. Win more games than the Giants.
I still think a 3-game playoff where each team gets a home game, the cream will rise to the crop, especially in a series against a team that's won 16 more games than the other. 1 game, anything can happen. 3 games, you're probably going to have the cream rise to the top, or at least there's a better chance of that. I know it hurts with pitching staffs and all that, but I still like it. Listen, we're out of time. Tyson Fury knocks out Deontay Wilder in the 11th round. 3rd fight, Tyson Fury's the best heavyweight fighter in the world, period. We got to go. I appreciate everyone that joined the show today. Ashley Weiss, Q Meyer, Chris Magner Chapman, and, of course, the Wiz back at home, sucking it up and getting it done today. We'll be back next week, same time. This is Outta Line, Fox Sports Radio. Have a good day.
FM and 1340 AM, KKGK Las Vegas.